It's 2 o'clock, recording is on. Jeff is coming in. City of Manistee Housing Commission is hereby called to order for this meeting. First of all, I'd like to welcome new commissioners, Jim Smith and Steve Fosdick. Welcome to the commission. And if you would take the roll, please.
Jim Smith?
Here.
Jeannie Hilton?
Yes.
Jim Bond?
Here.
Karen Goodman? Here. Steve Fosdick?
Yes.
Roll call taken.
Next up are amendments to the agenda. Actually, according to the bylaws, the amendments to the agenda should come a little bit later, right before the approval of minutes. So I have one amendment, and is there another amendment?
Well, I guess I need some clarification whether there's going to be an amendment or we're just going to talk about it in general discussion.
No, there will be an amendment.
Okay.
So,
One is going to be an election of president.
okay, well, let's wait until the time. Are there any public comments?
Also, I'd like to review and discuss the procurement policy that I'd like to put that on the agenda too.
Okay, well, let's wait until we get there.
Okay, so
Public
the
comments on agenda-related items? Any public comments on agenda-related items? No. Going to number 4, agenda items marked with an asterisk are on the consent agenda and considered by the executive director to be routine matters. Before approving the consent agenda, commissioners may remove an item from the consent agenda. Now, before we go to the approval of minutes of the last meeting, I would like to introduce an amendment for Resolution 2023-4, and this is authorization for the Deputy Director, Lindsay McIntyre, to act as the Executive Director during Executive Director Copus's medical leave. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we add that.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Amendment carries. Steve, did you have something?
Well, I have a number of things, but I don't know if they're an amendment to the agenda or whether we're just the election of a president. We're without a president in this commission right now.
That actually calls, I believe, for a special meeting, according to bylaws.
We usually have our annual special meeting, but
Yes. Jeff, did you hear the question?
Yes, I did. I thought I said it in the email too, but I think the bylaws do call for a special meeting. So I don't know if that's something that we want to discuss when the special meeting will occur, so then we can elect. But the president would then serve for the remainder of the term. I think my recollection is right before June is the annual meeting.
so we can put it on the agenda that we would like to set a special meeting for elections.
Okay.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, special meeting.
Also, I'd like to discuss our attorney and auditor. At some point in time, I don't know if this is the right meeting, but at some point in time, we need to discuss it.
I think given the extent of the business to be covered today, let's perhaps bring that up the next.
Okay.
But if I have a motion, I will entertain it. Okay, so we'll defer that to another meeting, and probably the protocol is to contact Lindsay prior to the next meeting, February 28th, and ask that that be put on.
Well, consider this notice.
Okay, so noted.
Were there minutes of the closed session meeting last month?
There was a taped, the meeting was taped, but the session was not. So there was an open and a closed. The meeting is about 3 minutes long.
So what you're saying is there's no minutes for the closed session? Is that normal?
For a closed session, I believe it is.
No, typically, in my experience on boards, I guess you could go two ways. You can have it taped, but the committee probably should have a physical review of whatever that was discussed in there, and then you have to have a motion to get rid of that tape, anything that's recorded.
But that would be in violation of FOIA.
You can get rid of, FOIA says after 1 year or 1 day, you can
Okay.
destroy it.
All right.
But you do have to have the approval for the to destroy those type of things.
Okay.
But it should be transcribed into some sort of written document so that each person gets a copy of it. We can review it. We can't keep it. You have to give it back to whoever, passed it out, and then it's destroyed.
It would have to be hearsay since it wasn't taped.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard you say it was taped.
No, the meeting was taped, but the closed session was not.
It's not. Okay.
Jeff?
I didn't tape the closed session. I thought, I appeared via Zoom, so there's not a recording of the Zoom?
If you hit record, we might not have done that. I know, yeah, you were, yeah. We had
Clinton was there, yeah.
Yeah, we had the computer on. And do you know of that, if it got recorded?
I don't know of anything. I recorded before and then
Yeah.
adjourned.
But that's been placed on tape.
I guess it's just something we'll have to figure out, but moving forward, I think we have to have a clear process. If we go into closed sessions,
Okay.
we have to.
One thing, Jeff, is there a way you can turn up your volume? We're having a little difficulty hearing you. And I'm also afraid that the tape will not pick you up very well.
Is everybody having trouble?
Kind of
I
muted.
guess it's just
You're not
old
very-
me.
You're not very loud. It's a little
Ah.
distorted is all.
Let me try and call in then. I'll still be on video, but let me switch to phone. Maybe that'll work.
Okay.
Steve?
Clinton's medical leave. I understand that Clinton's on medical leave.
Correct.
Has there been any discussion on that as far
No,
as,
there's nothing to discuss.
there's nothing to
no,
discuss?
Well,
no,
there
there
is
is
something to discuss, which I will introduce that resolution.
So at resolution, we'll talk about the parameters of that. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Riverside minutes, bylaws, and reporting. Has any of that ever come in front of this board?
Say that again, Steve, I'm sorry.
Riverside housing, bylaws, amendments, and reporting. Has there ever been a report to this board what Riverside's doing?
Lindsay?
No.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't believe they have to report to the Housing Commission.
Do we have a copy of the bylaws to check and see if it
For
does?
Riverside,
For Riverside, yeah.
I don't have them. I'll have to see if I can get them.
All right.
Yeah.
Could we see if Riverside is required to report?
I would think because they're a wholly owned instrumentality of the Housing Commission that they should report.
Well, we'll see what's in the bylaws. So that'll be the February 28th meeting, please. Or?
Clinton's employment contract that was never resolved in front of the board. We need to get a resolution on that.
That is going to have to wait as well. There is an affidavit that is coming up that has been submitted to you, Jeff, regarding the appropriateness of the contract signing by Dale Priester in January of 22. So should we delay the Housing Commission addressing this until that affidavit is resolved or any litigation is resolved?
An affidavit.
Can you hear me better now?
No, now you're worse.
Worse?
Sounds really loud. There you go.
There, it sounds louder.
Does it sound better now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Much.
Okay, so obviously the employment contract with Clint and the Housing Commission, that is an issue that needs to be discussed, and it needs to be presented. It's gonna be a question. You know, you have these reports from the city council saying it's not a legal contract. You have some commissioners saying that it is a legal contract. So it's not a clear yes, no response to that. You got to look at the facts of the matter, and you got to look at the law to the sport, whether it is a legal contract or not. It's not just one yes or no based off of what has been presented thus far. Is that kind of, and that's something we should address. The next board meeting is February
28.
28th.
No, I think we can put it on.
You know, I don't know if that would give me enough time to speak with all the board members that were present at that time. Jeannie, my recollection is you weren't a board member January of last year. Is that correct?
No, I was not.
You were a board member January of 2022?
No, I was not.
I was-
Okay. Karen, you were.
But it didn't come in front of the commission. That's the question.
I think we have, where I was going with this is like a parliamentary rule, you know, how are we processing stuff? A contract can be, that's why I want to put the procurement policy up, because we have to look at that. On the other side of this is when contracts or legal advice is being requested, we're getting into affidavits, we're getting into all this legal stuff. It has never been discussed here as a whole, given any of our interim or our CEO, anybody, a green light to go and represent us by saying, we want you, Jeff, to go after this situation. We want you, Jeff, to go after this. This is being done in a vacuum, which is very different from me. You know, what I do as a county commissioner, we have to give our chair the agreement or give them the okay to represent the whole commission. And I have not had that happen here at all.
All right, let me go in here. These are the bylaws of the City of Manistee Housing Commission regarding procurement. And this is going to be on your page 3. States as a heading, bylaws of the City of Manistee Housing Commission. On page 3, under Article 2, officers, paragraph 2.2, second paragraph. The commission may employ such attorneys, certified public accountants, engineers, planners, and consultants as are reasonably necessary to conduct the affairs and business of the commission.
Yep, they may, but I'm talking about getting a full commission approval and or agreement.
I don't know if that is addressed or not.
The word may, you know, leads me to believe that somebody should be giving a green light for this,
Okay.
besides just the one person.
Let's turn that over to Jeff.
Well, no, in the legal sense, may means that the commissioner may do it. Shall means that it requires a resolution. Shall means they have to act. So may is just that, they may. And in there, it does not state exactly how, whether it has to be done by resolution or whether 3 of them out of the 5 have to say, yes, we approve. So that is where, you know, maybe we might want to look at tightening up and maybe amending that if that's something that you want to happen. But, you know, pertaining to other things that stated in the procurement, if we're going to put everything up to the board that the Housing Commission does, whether it be entering a contract for a emergency situation, then that can hold up business. That's the whole point of the procurement policy, is to give the executive director power to act when there's not enough time to go to the board. And that
that's
is
why I
with
wanted-
every housing commission.
That's why I wanted to put it on the agenda, so we can have a conversation about this and look at that policy. And, you know, there are financial limits that are put in there. You know, that's something I personally have a problem with. Yes, we don't want to delay any type of quick action that needs to be done, but for things that, you know, are going to cost us in the long run and maybe put us in front of a judge, I do think that we have to have more communication, and we should have some sort of agreement that we're willing to go into that pool.
All right, can you indicate to Lindsay to put that on the agenda for February 28th, please? This would be a discussion. Go ahead, Jeff.
And Karen, I definitely have seen that with like federal procurement policy sets limits. I believe right now it's $250,000. The Manistee's is 100 in state and its procurement policy, but even that, I've had housing commissions even lower that, saying, hey, if it's above, you know, an X amount, $60,000, you have to have board approval. Anything below, the executive director can. So there are those instances where the board can definitely have the limit be lower than what the federal policy is, or even what the procurement policy says. You can even have a resolution that says, no, the executive director has to get approval if it's over X amount. So I've seen it that way as well.
Yes, that's the type of procurement policies I'm used to. But yes, let's put this on the agenda. I was going to talk about it today, but let's put it on the agenda in February, and so that everybody got a copy of that policy, and we can talk about at that meeting how we want to change it.
The attorney and auditor is going to be on that.
That would include
Yes,
everything.
correct.
Yep.
CPA.
Yep.
Okay, Lindsay, we have that.
Yeah, discussion. for
Anything
the
else, Steve?
procurement.
Century Terrace and Harborview are now out of PHA, right? They're no longer PHAs. Is that correct?
They're under Section 8.
Correct.
Correct.
I think we need another work session of personnel benefits. I think with vacation, I've always worked in situations where you're allowed to carry 2 weeks over. And if you carry more than that, if you don't use it, you lose it. To have 90 days vacation is, it's my God, that's almost half a year.
Time to take it.
So I would like to discuss it. As far as your health benefits and stuff like that, I don't have a problem with that. I think the carryover is the big problem with me.
So again, that is a personnel issue. And again, we thank you, Jeff, and everybody that's been sending everything, Lindsay. That's great. It's been a lot, but somewhere in one of those documents, there was reference several times to the personnel committee, which I don't know if that exists. So that would be something to take to a personnel committee to bring it to the full board for discussion.
All right, can we add an amendment
To
next agenda for
establish.
investigating the possibility of a personnel committee by the commission?
Well, there's 2 committees that I don't think we have either or, personnel and financial.
Yes, finance too.
We need a financial committee also.
So to establish those two.
So that would probably be an amendment.
Yes, Jeff?
So I want to make sure I'm sorry. There isn't a personnel and finance committee, or they're just not meeting?
There has been none.
Ever?
No,
Well, prior to
there
me,
was.
yeah.
Just with
Usually-
different members.
Yeah, board members have been appointed to the personnel committee, and then there'd been whoever's the treasurer is usually the one, right, that helps with the financials.
Yeah.
How long have you been on?
Over here. But when did those stop?
Well,
COVID.
when Doug Parks, I believe he took over personnel, and then when he took over vice and treasury, the personnel.
All right, can we delay any further discussion of this until we discuss the amendment?
Yeah, we can add that too.
Because we're going to get
So-
bogged down here and not complete today's business. Anything else, Steve?
That's all I have, except for on the consent agenda, there are no resolutions, just the approval of the November minutes, right?
No, there are resolutions, but they are under new business.
They're not part of the consent.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was asking. Okay, that's it
All
for me.
right, let's go to the consent agenda, which is approval of minutes of the November 13th,
I'll make the
November
motion.
15th.
Second.
Posting,
Okay, hold on.
offers, Smith, seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I guess let's go to the resolution. Well, first of all, we have to go to old business, of which there is none. And let's go to new business.
Did we do public comments yet?
I called for them and there were no comments. Public comments, you mean?
Yes, sorry, I must have been switching so I didn't hear it. My apologies.
All right, let's go to new business. Number A, meeting location discussion. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, with the city building kind of under construction because of the flood that they had, it just kind of brought up an idea about, do we have to have it at the city council building? I think that was a convenience for taping and stuff.
Correct.
But this venue also works. It's a little bit easier access, especially right
Is
now.
there a cost involved in this?
I don't know, to be honest. This was all set up before I took over.
Typically,
Let's
they don't
determine if
charge
there
you.
is a cost involved in this, either direct or ancillary, for example, an engineer to take care of the videos.
Okay,
I think nonprofits, they were fine with, but you have to fill out an agreement and stuff. The gals at the front have all the paperwork.
okay.
So let's determine that.
Yeah, so,
I agree with you, and if the elevator is down, it certainly calls for us to continue here because of handicap issues.
This is a good location, but I think in the past, I had attended the commission meetings that were over at Century Terrace.
Harbor.
Perhaps some arrangements could be made with Ride to ensure that residents that wish to attend the meeting would be able to get over here and attend the meetings and then return back. That would be my only concern about having it off-site.
Okay. Either
It should be,
here or
yeah, it should be accessible to the residents. And with the elevator being unknown at City Hall, this is certainly.
Well, it looks like for now, this is good because the community room at Harborview is still under construction. So, Lindsay, I'll make the call to Dial-A-Ride.
Okay.
Question, why aren't these commission meetings at the property?
They used to be,
Because
they're under construction
they're under
now.
construction.
And then once they're under construction, we don't have the ability for recording for this, all this technology for recording and voice and stuff in those rooms.
So when the construction is done, they're going to move back, is that what you're saying?
No, because
No,
they
we-
require recording.
We don't have any recording devices, anything set up for a recording like this to be able to be video and sound, and then to be able to send it over to the city.
There's no recording equipment over there for the.
But, I mean, a couple $100, you can set up a recording thing. It's not a big deal, but that's fine.
Well, in the meantime, I'll call Dial-A-Ride.
No matter what, we have to be somewhere else for a while.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we can evaluate it later.
I understand that.
All right, moving next to Resolution 2023-01, adoption of the 2023 Public Housing Operating Budget. You'll find that on pages 7 through 11 of your packet. Does it call for a reading? Well, let me read it real quickly anyway. Adoption of the 2023 Public Housing Program Operating Budget. Whereas the City of Manistee Housing Commission, as a public housing authority, is required by law to adhere to the rules, regulations, and directives of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And whereas HUD requires the development and approval of an annual fiscal year operating budget for the Public Housing Authority to be submitted to the field office. And whereas the CMHC fiscal year is January 1st to December 31st each calendar year. And whereas the staff of CMHC developed the operating budget for 2023. And whereas staff presented the 2023 Public Housing Budget to the Board of Commissioners at its November 15th, 2022 meeting. I'm looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2023-01. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Smith motions, Bond seconds. And call for any discussion on this?
Now, this is just for the 48 scatter sites, right? This operating budget.
Yes.
All right, call for a vote, please.
That was the meeting where we didn't have a quorum, right?
Well, we know, that was our auditor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is that the
that was the auditor. That wasn't a budget meeting.
No, yeah, this was discussed on the 15th of November.
Yeah, we didn't have a quorum that day. It was when everybody was there.
Right.
No,
There was only 3 of us. That's right.
Yeah.
Do we have discussion now?
I heard the question, is this just the scattered sites?
Yes.
This is just the scattered.
This is just scattered sites budget.
All right, call for a vote, please.
Jim Smith,
Yes.
Jamie Pelton,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
Yes.
Steve Funsick,
yes.
Jim Bond.
Yes. Motion passes. Going to letter C, Resolution 2023-02, adoption of the 2023 Domestic Violence Grant Operating Budget. That will be found on pages 12 through 14 of your packet. I'll read it as soon as I find it. All right, here it is. Shall I read it?
I'm fine with it. We don't have to just.
I'm fine with it. I'll make the
Okay.
motion to accept.
All right.
Second.
Calling, we had a motion
And second.
from Jenny?
The motion was from Steve. I seconded it.
Okay, all right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Okay. Motion carries. Resolution 2023-03, acceptance and placement on file of the 2021 public housing audit. That's going to be pages 15 and 16 of your packet.
I will make the motion that we accept resolution 2023-03, acceptance of placement and file of the public housing audit.
Second,
I'll second.
call for a vote.
Evans? Jim Smith,
Yes.
Jamie Pelton,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
Yes.
Steve Funsick,
Yes.
Jim Bond.
Yes. All right, now we get to letter E, which is the Freedom of Information Act request Turn it over to Jeff.
Well, I believe this is on here as a result of Karen, didn't you send an email to Clint pertaining to the FOIA request,
Yes.
asking about the status? I'm trying to find it. I've had a lot of emails going back and forth, so I'm just trying to look at it. And I believe, what is the commission's stance on whether we're going to go forward with FOIA request?
Yes, I was concerned that we are embroiled in a difficult situation with the city. And I wasn't really aware of all that was going back and forth with us and the city and the claims and the responses. So I felt a need that, we should discuss that here, especially if there's going to be any legal action we're going to want to move forward on.
Well, can I address it real quick? Do you mind?
Go ahead.
So my position is, we did submit a FOIA request and was asking for documents. And they being the city of Manistee, sent I don't want to get into legal arguments whether my position thought that they did it in compliance with their own FOIA procedures or whether it's pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. But they did send, the response was, it was like around $2,700 they were going to charge, and required half down. So my personal preference is that I wouldn't pay $2,700 for the documents, to be honest. And I don't think it's worth the time to file a lawsuit over a Freedom of Information Act request. So I have no anticipation of going forward with it, nor would I recommend it. So I hope that kind of answers. I don't see the FOIA I wouldn't recommend pursuing the FOIA. It's basically my position pertaining to that.
Great, because I was thinking the same thing.
And I would agree.
I mean, if there's,
Several cost estimates.
Does it go?
I didn't even respond to the email or anything. I just don't think it's would be a good a good expenditure for the Housing Commission to do. Even if we did get the documents, I don't even know where we'd really go with it at this stage. So, if there is something, I know there's some contention with the city council, but I don't think by going forward with the FOIA request is going to help anything. It's one thing if they said, hey, it's $50, here's the documents requested. But when the response was $2,700, I was like, this, not worth our time.
Well, that's where I get confused, because I'm looking at the letter from Mr. Gamble, and your request is granted as to existing non-exempt records in the possession of the city of Manistee that fall within the scope of your request. The process of your request, the city estimates a FOIA processing of $155.28 to search for, retrieve, review, and examine, and that you have to have a check to half of that amount. So if there's more out there that's been requested, and I don't know about it, but this is the last email I saw from our city manager that was sent.
Date
No,
on
there was a previous one that was.
More, okay. All right, so no
Karen,
matter
the
what,
date
we're
on
gonna,
that email?
and it was January 17th, I think. 12, yeah.
Okay.
So, no follow-up, no, we don't need to FOIA anything. We are
Okay.
dropping
And I
it.
don't believe that requires a resolution or a vote. However,
No.
letter F, Jeff, do you have resolutions to present? It would be letter F on the agenda.
The only resolution that I thought I sent it to all the commissioners was pertaining to Lindsay acting while the executive director Clint is out, because if you read the succession plan, it basically says that the deputy director acts in the position of the executive director. There's probably like 7 instances One was permanent disability, another one was, I think
Jeff, I'm sorry to
retirement or,
interrupt. I'm sorry to, Jeff, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that resolution is coming up. We have one more resolution before that. We can move it up to now if you like. No,
Yeah, that's
I
it.
have requested that be put in, that
Yeah, you
resolution.
started at the beginning.
Shall we move that up in the agenda and deal with that now?
That would be okay.
well,
As long as you started, Jeff. We added that to the agenda when we first all got together here.
All right, this is resolution 2023, which I'm going to add -04, authorization for Deputy Director Lindsay McIntyre to act as the Executive Director during Executive Director Cope's medical leave. Does everybody have that, and has it been read? I entertain a motion.
I will make that motion.
I second. Any discussion?
Yes. I think that this may kind of cross over into having some clear idea about Clinton's leave. As acting executive director, Lindsay's in full charge. However, I'm a little concerned that that leave, though we have a medical reason, it's not a medical leave, it's PTO. So I think that somewhere along the line, we have to be very clear about, in most HR situations, when a person goes on a medical leave, that means that starting the day of the medical leave, there is no emails, phone contacts, anything and everything that deals with work is stopped because you're on a medical leave due to whatever. In this situation, not taking short-term or long-term disability for this long period of time and taking all your PTO, it's a choice, but I think we have to be very clear. There is no anything, everything has to, we will be liable if something happens and he's working when he's not supposed to be. So that's why I wanted to discuss this. In the HR world, this is kind of a tricky one to walk down. And again, and I get it, some people like to take their PTO so that they can have a full benefit. We all know that short-term disabilities are, and if that's the possibility, you could actually augment if you wanted to get full. It doesn't matter to me, but I want to make it clear that he is gone until April 10th or whatever.
At least
the
until April 10th.
Recertification date is. And that'll probably have to be, I think it's something we should put in front of a personnel committee too, to kind of watch.
Okay.
My concern is that he's going to continue to manage through Lindsay. I don't.
Here we're getting into an element of micromanaging by the commission, the day-to-day activities. We're just going to have to assume on everybody's standard of honor that company business will not be discussed with.
I have done
with
HR
Lynn.
work long enough to know you assume you're going to get sued.
Well,
I think he should be on medical leave.
Well, he is going on
He is
medical
on
leave.
medical leave.
We do. We have
He is.
work that says he's on medical leave. We just have to make sure that it's very clear. Lindsay, you can take a call, but kindly say, I can't chat,
Oh, yeah.
and redirect that and just make sure that there's absolutely no contact with Clinton during that time that he's on medical leave. It's time for him to just detach and heal.
okay.
Exactly.
That's what we want.
The same thing with the Riverside Board.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
right.
Yeah.
That's right,
And-
I forgot. Yeah.
All right. So
and that is, and just a clarification, that this resolution also serves as Lindsay stepping in as Clint's positions on the Riverside Board as well.
right.
Okay.
All right. So we have a
And that's
We have a motion.
And that's exactly why the resolution is needed.
Hold on before you,
Yeah,
I don't think we have a motion yet, do we?
here we go.
Yeah.
I made the motion,
And a second.
but we had to have a discussion.
Any
Okay.
other discussion?
Yes, Lindsay, do you carry a property management license?
I have certification
No,
for,
no, property manager's license.
no, I have certification for the HUD and PDRA.
I think when you're in the state of Michigan, you have to have a property manager's license to lease property that's not your own. Now, I don't know, you can lease underneath a property manager, so if Sinair or Commonwealth have a registered property manager in the state of Michigan, you can lease under them. This has been my concern with Clinton, because I don't think Clinton has a property manager's license. And
Unless one of them is a broker, then they could work under the broker. I don't-
well, you have to become a broker before you can become a property manager.
No, you can work.
All right, let's
Anyway.
have legal counsel
Yeah.
weigh in on this.
Well, Lindsay can find out if any of those people, anybody's licensed. I mean, I'm sure Jeff doesn't know right off the top of his head.
I do recall, I worked in property management down in Grand Rapids, and you did have to have it. When I moved up here and I worked under the government, public housing, it was not required. You're not marketing, you're not leasing,
Okay.
and that's what, I mean, and that's, Jeff,
All right,
that's the understanding that I was told. So I've never had to go and get it.
Did we get clarification of that, Jeff?
So I mean, you're right, in the state of Michigan, and it's pretty much most states, we pretty much mirror the same laws, but if you are going to rent property and if you don't own the property, then you have to have a broker's license to accept and rent. So that is one of the, with the public housing, Manistee Housing Commission owned it, and so they could go ahead and collect its own rent. Pertaining to this new entity that was set up, that's something that I would have to get clarification on, and if I'm sure there's exemptions to that. I wasn't the RAD attorney to do any of this, so I will have to circle back, but I mean, Steve, you're correct on what you said, and Lindsay, you're also correct, public housing, because they usually own the property, they don't have to be licensed to do it. But, and I'm not aware of, I know who Sinair is, they're right here in Lansing, and I highly doubt Sinair is an investor, I don't think they would be licensed. I highly doubt they have a broker's license. They probably use somebody else if they need to, and I don't think they need to.
So we can table this and bring it to our meeting, and actually this type of stuff too, when we're going back to the contract and everything, could be part of that personnel overview too. So,
All right, so it'll be tabled till personnel,
till our next
February
February meeting, our
February
February
28th.
meeting.
Okay.
We'll put it in, old business.
All right, so,
So I'll make the second now.
all right, we'll call for a vote to place the adoption of the resolution
Ready, Lindsay?
to February 28th. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, we're gonna adopt this resolution, it's to discuss all the other stuff.
Okay.
Will be at the
All right.
28th.
Yeah, because there is a background on this, the adoption of 2022-07, which is the line of succession.
Yeah.
That has already been adopted. All right, so any more discussion on this? Call for a vote, please.
Jim Smith,
Yes.
Jeannie Pelton,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
Yes.
Steve Fonzek,
Yes.
Jim Buck.
Yes. Motion carries. Anything else, Jeff, before we move to the HAT resolution?
No, I have nothing further.
Okay. You are going to stay with us for a bit?
Yes, I can stay with you until the end of this. I'm gonna also look at and contact a RAD attorney pertaining to that last question as well, so.
All right, let's go to the HAT resolution. And Lindsay, help me on that. Is that Housing North?
Yes.
Let me find that.
Yeah,
res-
we did approve the payment on that.
Yeah, it's already approved.
In a previous meeting.
That was at November, wasn't it?
No, that was
Before that.
That was
Yeah, that was in
September
21.
of 21.
Oh, September, yeah. Okay. So we're good on that? There's nothing to,
Should we put a resolution on file to make that approval or to disperse those funds for the hat?
Don't you already have a resolution on file?
yeah, we do have a resolution, 2021-07.
And
So I
it's
guess,
got the schedule of payments
Right.
on here.
Right.
right. So shall we just resolve to reiterate
We can,
2021-07?
yep, just,
All right, offer to, do I hear a motion to reintroduce and re-okay Resolution 2021-07? Jenny?
I'll second.
Steve? Any discussion? I think we've already had it. Call for a vote, please.
I guess I could look at all you guys and just say it, but it's easier just to put it all on here. All right. Jim Smith,
Yes.
Jeannie Pelton,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
yes.
Steve Fonte,
Yes.
Jim Bond.
Yes. Okay, next we're going into discussion regarding the RAD conversion phase 2, scattered sites, next steps. I open up the floor.
Do we have time to do this today? Because it could be getting long and involved.
Actually, I have a tendency of agreeing with you.
Do we have a presentation on it, or,
I don't believe we do.
so what would we be discussing at this point if we don't even have a presentation?
Putting it off to the next meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
I know Naomi had, a lot to kind of lay down when she was back here in December and stuff as far as what to.
well, she kind of gave a, she was excited, but personally, I'm not ready to support phase 2 until I see phase 1 done. I mean, we've got a lot of questions about what's going on in
Well,
phase 1. and we
I
don't-
think that's a dangerous position to take because the clock is ticking for implementation or at least planning of phase 2. So I think probably
We
let's,
haven't even seen anything about phase 2, so why is the clock ticking?
because we have a timeline
To
In order
make
to-
application for
to get
the,
this.
Where is that? Where is that information?
Lindsay?
I mean, it hasn't been presented since I got on in June, so I haven't seen any of that.
I have the dates in mind, but I don't recall what they are.
Well, I think it needs to be sent out
It's
to
a
us.
2-year period and we are well into the first year, I think.
It can't be, I haven't even had, it's not even been
it's,
presented.
phase 1 is part of this whole process, the whole RAD.
No, I know, but phase 2
Okay,
has not been presented to us since I came on in June. I've seen nothing.
why don't we table this and as soon as we possibly can, get some information regarding phase 2 so that we have something to discuss.
Well-
Here's some outline for what we're looking for. Of course, the timelines, where are we at? What do we have to do our application process and all that stuff? At one time, there was a developer brought aboard to do some building. Haven't heard anything since then, so where are we with development and or alternative placements? And what else?
Securing property.
Securing the property. I mean, none of that has been discussed in these last couple of years.
Now, phase 2 versus phase 1 being Century Terrace and Harborview. Phase 2 is scattered sites.
Scattered.
Is it the same financier and the same developer?
Those are good questions. Who's the financier? I think it is the RAD.
And I'm not really comfortable with saying that we should bulldoze 48 sites down without seeing if we can't rehab some of them.
Well, but we're talking about things that we don't have a lot of information on right now.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and get what information we need. Apropos of what Karen said about timelines, anything that has been discussed in,
Placement property.
yeah, right.
The other thing too, Lindsay,
Mhm.
I've been hearing anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000 per unit in phase one. What exactly was spent on Harborview and Century Terrace in the rehab program, in the
I
RAD
don't have
program?
it down for you. I don't have anything prepared for that.
We have no idea how much money was loaned or financed or none of that?
I do not have that. I literally started taking this position on Monday as far as
Okay.
like understanding all this, so.
But if it was a $13 million project,
Yeah,
that's a lot of
let's put
money.
that in for, that request with the phase two request to be discussed at a different time.
Steve, I believe that was in, I believe that was in Naomi's presentation. So if I pull it up, I can email that over.
Yeah, Jeff, any information you have, if you would.
And Naomi's still on
Uh,
payroll?
w-
She's consulting, correct, yes.
She's a good girl.
This,
She's awesome.
this presentation, I'm not sure if our two new commissioners have gotten that, the City of Manistee Housing
They
Commission
should
portfolio.
have,
Yeah,
as part
so-
of the packet.
This was the presentation from Naomi.
Yeah, but
Right.
it didn't.
It wouldn't have gone, I don't think it was, if they received it. I can send it to you.
So because it does have the phase two scattered sites, it does talk about designs to demolish existing building or rebuild new. So
Yeah, but
it's
it didn't
in,
have
it's
any
all in
mon-
there.
didn't
No,
have
it doesn't have the
money
money.
or any- It had no details.
Right.
It was just one year.
And so you do have that, both of you.
No.
No,
You don't have that?
Yeah,
All right.
they should get a copy.
that
of
was
it.
handed out to us at the November meeting.
Do you have a copy of it? Probably somewhere.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've got it written down here. Do you want me to send it out to the board again?
No, just to these two? Unless, do you
Send
still
it to
have
the
yours,
whole-
Jenny?
It's always best to send it.
Send it
would
to the
say-
whole board? I can do that.
I would say everybody should get it.
So you feel like you're being pulled in
I
five
think we
different
need,
directions
there's
yet?
a lot of homework to be done before we even
Well, it is.
talk about phase two.
Yes, that would be a discussion, and it is, we've got situations where we've been at city council, we've talked about this, but, you know, your point is taken. I know that at a meeting I said, you know, we have a duplex that you can't even use one side, and so why do we even have that? Can we sell it to, my
Right.
suggestion was sell it to Habitat.
Right.
And I was told that we can't do that, but then we did some investigating and found that we could sell to Habitat.
All right, well,
So
let-
those kind of discussions are things
Yeah,
that we want
Let's table all
to
of this until
be able to
February.
bring
We're gonna be
forward.
very busy on February
And,
28th.
Actually-
with the idea that if not all of the material has been absorbed by the commission in February, that would be put into March's meeting. However, we are marching on a timeline.
Well, we do have the options for working groups, so
Okay,
we can do that.
all right.
I would like to see a work session with Naomi present.
Maybe
the
on
consultant.
Zoom.
Naomi's out of Texas, so I think probably present via Zoom would be the best option. Is
Not
that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think a meeting first, so we get it in our heads straight, so we even know what, Naomi's great, but I knew, that I felt like if I didn't have the right question, I wasn't gonna get the right answer. You know, it's like, I wanna know what questions I have to ask,
I want
so.
to see what's out there right now being proposed for phase two. If we can get that information.
Yeah,
And we can absorb that before even the next meeting.
Okay.
I've heard that there is a timeline and these 48 scatter sites are starting to drop off and we're starting to lose Section 8 vouchers. And I don't
Well-
want to do that.
Again, before we take this any further, let's table all of this until the next meeting and keep writing those questions down.
In between the next meeting, and when you get that information, Lindsay, if you could, I know you got a lot on your plate, give us how many are vacant at this time in scattered sites. if you could send us that, and what their status is. Are they waiting for a new tenant, or are they in bad shape? Or just uninhabitable? You know, if you have time, or somebody in your staff has time, that would be really good to look at too.
The other thing on the scattered sites, what is a BDO? You guys and your acronyms.
What did you say?
BDO, boy.
BDO is our new
Our-
accounting firm.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've seen the
Board
commercials.
of Directors.
No, the O and the D are wrong.
Yeah.
That's the accounting firm.
Yes. All right, can we move on to reports and communications? In absence of the executive director, there will be no executive director report. Lindsay, you want to do the deputy director?
I
Well, no, she can do the executive director now.
No, she's acting.
He's acting. Not much to report. I sent the memo and stuff over to you, as far as my job description is in the deputy director, place. I don't know, I don't have too much to report at this time. I just-
Basically, you've written out your deputy director report.
The memo, yes, was.
Which we have all
was the
read, I assume?
Deputy director.
Okay. Move on to
Do we do
Cindy.
compensation for that? I guess I didn't see it in the resolution, or you're taking on the director role.
You know,
There's
No.
no
is
compensation.
there a change in
Deputy director.
compensation?
Really?
That would be on the personnel committee
I
for
guess we need
February
to,
28th.
we need to put that on the schedule too.
Either that or a great big Christmas gift.
I would say compensation.
The check's in the mail.
Has everyone,
That's, yeah. that's
being
a
issued by
partisan session.
BDO, by the way.
Yeah.
Cindy, has everybody read Cindy's report, and is there anything else you have to add?
Nothing else for me.
Okay. Administrative assistant. Anything else? I must say, I applaud you on the depth with which you went into bedbug situation in your report.
Oh, we're working on it.
I can tell you have.
I can sure tell you're the low man on the totem pole. They give you the pest control.
Yeah, thank you.
That's like
That's
being
gonna
the
be reassigned.
safety measure for an organization.
That's going to be reassigned to the personnel committee when we form one.
It just came out in the news, Michigan has the most bed bugs than any other state in the United States.
Yeah. And Manistee wasn't even mentioned.
That's a great one.
All right, does anyone have the construction update from Commonwealth?
I did not receive any communication from them.
Okay.
Huh.
Then why is it in here?
Because they were
Because-
supposed
We
to.
were supposed to get
Okay.
an update.
There's been quite a few questions, and I know that the director went to them, and we've been waiting on, is that, and we hate to put that on you, but it's not really our job. We're not able to do that, but we do need a report from the construction, especially the rumors about the window situation and all that. And I know he's been asked a couple times, the construction manager, about that.
All right, can we table that until,
Well, we need someone to contact the construction company and say,
Right.
we need answers.
And and this is something Clinton's been trying, right, he, you know, we heard very clearly in a couple meetings that they have not been very
No. Yeah.
obliging or cooperative, you know, so he has voiced that he was in the middle several times, not getting answers. And I hate that this is gonna like go to Lindsay as well, but maybe if we don't get answers, if she can't get anything by our next meeting, we need to form a letter and send it to him with a strong comment about you need to cooperate.
I would suggest that letter be headed out by Jeff.
I don't think it's the housing commission that should be contacting them,
It's-
because
you're correct-
we
you're correct.
have no,
Oh, that's what we
Well-
said, not us.
Yeah, it should be Riverside.
should be Riverside Housing.
All right, so again, table letter E, number 8 on
Well-
reports.
Well, I wouldn't table the letter. I'd
No,
take
no,
the
no,
letter
no,
out.
no, no, we're gonna table the communications, the update, until we hear from Lindsay. And gonna be up to Lindsay to contact them to push it.
If she doesn't get a
anywhere, then
response.
we'll deal
But
with it.
I would really like to have an update by the February 28th meeting. I don't want to table talking to them after February 28th.
No, I'm just asking that this be tabled until 28th with the idea that within that period of time, we will receive an update.
Did you want update on just that specific email that you were talking about, or just it like kind of?
Like just a status update and where
When are they
they're
gonna be
at.
out of here?
On Harbor
I
View
mean,
End,
I can tell you from just walking the building and being there every day, and, you know, Kevin can kind of add in Harbor View, all units have been rehabbed. Right now, it's the common areas that they're working on. The community room still needs to be finished. They finished the 2 public restrooms down on the first floor at Harbor View.
That close.
Okay.
Just like mirrors, decorations type things gotta be done in those yet?
And we are walking, it's gonna be this week, I believe,
Thursday.
with Zach, who is one of the main guys over there. All the vacant units, and for basically lease up. So it's kind of like the final checklist. Century Terrace, none of the common areas have been touched. I would say every unit facing Riverside, L that comes off and over are done. Anything from basically, if you look at the entrance and go up, down is being constructed. All residents have been transferred, relocated to new units. So no moves are happening currently with residents. Now, if a resident has a reasonable accommodation that requires them to move, that can be submitted separately, and then that can happen. But no relocation of residents, that's all been completed.
So like, I know that there was a person who was placed somewhere else because he had extra needs. He wasn't able to be taken care of inside such terrace. Has he been brought back yet?
Yes, everyone is back. Every resident is back in a rehabbed unit. Yeah,
okay?
yes.
One thing, this is a tax credit property now, or CTHV is. They are not gonna wait forever for you to repopulate those apartments. At what point in time does a financier start to lose money because construction's still screwing around?
Well, like I said, we're walking Harbor View this week to finish up all vacant units to start leasing. So Harbor View is going to get started leasing.
But you've got 40 or 50 units in Century Terrace that aren't ready yet.
Correct.
And it's been, what, 2 years of construction now?
No,
No.
1 year, not even a year.
Yeah.
Started in February?
March of
March.
22, construction started at Harborview.
They didn't do any before the pandemic because it was approved in 2018.
Right, they did not. They didn't start till, I believe it was middle of March of 22, and they actually started demoing units at Harborview.
Okay, so we might have a bigger timeline than I thought we had. Because I know that HUD will not wait forever before it starts demanding you fill those vacancies, or we're gonna take your
The tax
subsidy
credit,
away.
I believe, is gonna be that driving force as far as leasing,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
How many units for you to fill at Harborview right now?
I think there's 9.
Once you go through them, you got a waiting list.
Yes, yes.
Okay, commissioner reports, comments? Anybody? Over and beyond?
I think I've said enough, but
However,
we have got a distrust in this community with the Housing Commission. And it's one of the reasons that I ran to be here, because it's not a housing business we're in, it's a people business. And our residents have got to become the most important thing, not the construction crew, not the maintenance people, but the resident. And we've got to start showing a little bit more empathy and compassion And I'm gonna preach that every time I'm here. And there's just this distrust that so many things are hidden. I mean, even sitting here on a commission, we don't know. I mean, the things with the construction, stuff like that, everything seems to always be hidden under a rock. And you have to go around lifting rocks to find something. And I want to become a lot more transparent than we already are.
And that has been expressed before.
Okay.
Noted. Any other commissioner reports?
Not a report. I know it's not easy. You guys are stepping in and taking over. I know, deep breaths. But thank you.
Yeah, frankly, I think you deserve, all of you, a round of applause.
It's hard. Thank you very
All
much.
except Kevin.
Yeah, I do nothing.
Just clapped 3 times.
Right.
All right, public comment. Citizens may now make comments on general housing commission affairs. Comments are not limited to agenda items, but should be directed to housing commission services, activities, or involvement areas.
What are the specific issues with the new windows and when are they being repaired or replaced?
Would you identify yourself first, please?
Lisa Spencer, United Way.
Okay.
Lisa, I don't know what the issues are. Unfortunately,
Jenny?
the first,
Jenny had some communication with Clint.
Yeah, but all Clinton told me at the time was that the windows that were there did not meet the new fire code. But according to a worker over there, a local worker, had spoke to a worker with the construction crew who said they got their new windows in, which didn't meet code, and they were gonna throw them away. And so I expressed to Clinton that if in fact a construction company was going to throw away windows, we would like to recycle them in the community with like maybe Habitat or someone. And so he asked them, and he is not still, as far as I know, last communication was only about the old windows, which is not what I was talking about. I was talking about the new windows.
Number one, I share your concern, but a general worker talking to another unknown construction worker,
Well, they were handling the windows. I mean,
well, but you know how rumors are.
and who's eating the cost for that?
Well, it's within the construction company, but my whole point was, if in fact the wrong windows were installed and you're taking them out, which cannot be returned to the manufacturer because it was your mistake, please don't throw the windows away. Let us.
I'm sure they're not gonna throw them away. If anything, they would probably be handed back to the general contractor.
Well, that's what we would hope.
You would hope
We've
that
seen
who
things
would
happen
throw
before, and I just.
214 windows.
It was the construction manager on site that day who spoke to the sub who was there working. And so when I get information like that, I went right to Clinton immediately and said,
So a copy of those email, I think I have a copy of that email. I'm sure Lindsay does as
I-
well. Can that be included in your request for the,
it was in the last packet about what he said. It was just, he said that it was the old windows, but I wasn't talking about the old windows. I was talking about the new windows.
okay.
But even the old windows should be recycled. I mean,
If we can find out,
yeah, I'm
Well,
sure
no.
60 years old.
it's part of the construction report.
Jeff, go ahead, Jeff.
I'm looking at the email that was sent, and Jim, you were on it. Jeannie, you were on it. Karen was on it. Melissa Warden, the RAD attorney, and Eric, the RAD attorney. Bill Gamble was on it. And it was addressed to 3 people at Commonwealth, and that's the development team. And that was sent on Friday, and it asked an update regarding the new windows that were ordered that did not meet the fire department code. So, but they haven't responded to it unless they just respond to Clint, because I didn't get a respond all. I can follow up with them and see what they're doing. But I mean, my assumption would be, I can't really see over there, would be that they wouldn't just throw the windows away. And my assumption would be they would use them at a different project if they can, or try and get it back, because it's actually the general contractor would be eating that. I don't think they would be, if it's their mistake, they can't, put that on the, add that to the loan amount. So my assumption would be they're getting the money back, just not throwing it away.
Yeah,
Aside from the
Well,
cost
provided
factors
that
to be
nobody
used
from-
elsewhere.
right.
Riverside or Century Terrace Harborview signed off on that change,
On-
i.e. Clinton. Did he sign off approving that?
He would not have any
Windows.
authority
He
to
doesn't
do
have
that.
authority.
That would be the
What is the date of
developer
that
and
email,
the
Jeff?
financer.
This Friday.
That was sent on Friday, January 20th.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and
He
they
was
have-
busy
and
Friday.
again, Clinton has tried to reach
Yeah.
out to Commonwealth without answers.
And Lindsay, will you have access to Clinton's emails so you can stay on top of things?
He would
I
agree.
don't know if it was set up. I have access to his drives and everything like that through the,
I would-
server and stuff. but
I would
for you
hope
to-
you'd have his email password.
I
for you
know I
to-
don't have the email password. I don't know if I have access to it.
Yeah. Who does our IT stuff? Who sets that up?
Next IT.
Okay, because that account should be stopped. There'll be
Right.
returns for medical leave.
Yeah, and everything should be forwarded to her.
The IT service can forward them to you with a note, they can put it behind the email system that says that, you're the acting director.
Okay.
Yeah. So talk with them, they'll stop that and they can forward them on to you.
Any other comments from commissioners? No, we're to the public. Okay. Call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Jim Smith offered, Bostic seconded. No discussion?
We're way early.
Everybody?
The earliest meeting we've had since June.
Yeah, really.
Call for
Honest, let's
vote?
go have a beer.
Adjourn?
Do you want to vote on that or all in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Meeting is adjourned at 3:12.
Thank you,
I
Jen.
was just gonna tell you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.